What's up, guys? Movie Junkie for Life here once again, and this is gonna be my worst movies for 2016. I did my best stuff already, I had a blast with that. Here we're gonna touch on the worst movies, the absolute worst movies that I saw in 2016. And this year already had so much suck in it, with us losing so many wonderful people. Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, Alan Rickman, Alan Thicke, Prince, David Bowie. That list was so immeasurable, and while it might seem like nothing to some people, they say like, well, you didn't even know these people. These people had an impact on our lives as movie lovers. These are people that gave us memories that we can look back on and cherish because it was entertaining and enjoyment. So I hope they're all in better places and they all rest in peace. That said, these people here, this list I have here, is not so good. These are the movies that, oh God, you don't even know how some of them got greenlit. You don't know what went wrong. Sometimes you do know what went wrong. Like Fantastic Four. I don't know. That's just terrible. But we won't go back there. Let me get into it one time. So, again, this list I think I got 10 movies. I did not see some movies this year that I heard were really bad. So it's not on this list. For instance, I heard Nine Lives is absolutely the worst movie of the year, but I haven't seen it, thank God. So let's get into my list of my worst movies for 2016. Start with Gods of Egypt. Oh my God, this movie. Okay, putting aside the whitewashing in this film, I can put that aside. That stuff really doesn't bother me as much as it does some other people. But this movie was just horrible. It was a CGI fest. Okay, fine. I think the biggest problem is this movie took itself too damn seriously. This movie should have just been an action fantasy type flick, just enjoyment. Instead, we got a movie with gods that just, I think Jared Butler thought he was in 300 all over again. And the lead, I don't know that young man's name. I'll find out what it is. He's in Pirates of the Caribbean, and he's just so boring. I couldn't get behind this guy at all. So while there were aspects of this movie that I absolutely did enjoy, for instance, Nikolaj Kostas, I'm pronouncing that name terribly, Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones, I actually liked him in this movie, and I liked some elements of this movie, but this movie was just terrible. This movie could have been so much better, and it was just such a horrible film. So Gods of Egypt, I think it'll go down though as one of those films that are so bad to watch it's good. So I'll watch it that way. My next movie, 50 Shades of Black. Gone are the days of good satire. I think the last good movie I saw that was satire was Scary Movie 2. After that, it just all went downhill. We got all this crap, and I don't know what the hell it is going on with these younger Wayans, but these movies are terrible. I don't like any of their new stuff. While I did even manage to laugh the one they did, A Haunted House, because of some of Marlon's ridiculous antics. 50 Shades of Black is the absolute worst of the bunch of movies that they have made, written, whatever. I think this is worse than the one where Little Big Man or Little Man or whatever the hell that one. It was worse than that, in my opinion. I did not laugh once. This movie was just terrible, awful movie to sit through. Number 3 is The Bough Breaks, or When the Bough Breaks, or something like that. This movie, look, I don't mind a good thriller, erotic thriller, whatever you want to call it, every now and again. Obsessed was a lot of fun. I think there was that one with Rebecca De Mornay, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. That was awesome. It's a really older movie, but it was awesome. Single White Female. These movies can be really fun, even if they're not Academy Award winning, but they're fun. When the Bough Breaks was just awful. The leads had zero chemistry. The relationship felt forced. The so-called psychotic person didn't really feel psychotic. Everybody felt like they were acting. And at no time did I ever felt invested in what was happening. I never had fun with what was happening. And there's so many other movies out there that are so much more fun than this one in terms of these types of thrillers, you know. So this movie was just awful. And I think the people who were making it realized that it wasn't even that good, because nobody seemed to have a good time making this film. Everybody was taking themselves way too seriously. So that's on my list, When the Bough Breaks. My number 4 is Kill Your Friends. This is a movie I was actually kind of looking forward to. It starred Nicholas Hoult, aka Beast from X-Men, and it's a British film, I believe. You know, it's kind of like American Psycho in a way, where there's this young man who would do anything to get up the ladder in this music industry. I think it's a music producer company, that kind of thing. The thing about this movie that I didn't like is, again, it was all style, no substance, and zero likability on the part of all the people involved. There was nobody in this movie I was rooting for. Weirdly enough, in American Psycho, Christian Bale is so enjoyable that, I don't know, rooting for is the word I would use to describe that character, but like Dexter, you kind of want him to get away with it, you know, because that's the thing, they have so much charisma that you kind of find yourself, even though it makes you kind of a horrible person, backing these psychos. Kill Your Friends, there's nobody likable in this movie. You don't want anybody to come out on top. And when it's done, it just kind of one of those movies that you've watched, but it didn't entertain you on any level. So Kill Your Friends to me was a no. My next movie, oh boy, and this one was a huge disappointment for me. Cell, starring John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. Here's why this movie, I can't believe how awful this movie is. And it really hurt me because Cell is one of my favorite Stephen King books of all time. It's one of my absolute favorites. The premise being that people on their cell phones, they get this signal and it triggers a rage in them, and it kind of get this 28 days later effect. Everybody just going ballistic and killing each other. And I so wanted to see this movie. This movie has been like in developmental hell forever. At one point in time, I heard Eli Roth was doing it, and I was looking forward to that because that was when Eli Roth was kind of riding that high wave of crazy horror movies that he had been doing. And then this came out. And this movie is so boring and so horrible. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I could see them using this movie to torture people in Guantanamo Bay. This movie is just that bad. And if I did not like John Cusack before, I like him even less now. I've never been a huge fan of John Cusack. Admittedly, he does have some good roles. But I find in recent, his stuff is really boring. He's boring. And his movie is god-awful. So just avoid seeing it at all costs. My next is Ben-HUR, the remake. I've never seen the original Ben-HUR. I've seen pieces of it. I'm aware of it. I know who's in it. I've just never seen it. I know about the famous chariot race. I've seen it on YouTube. Never saw the entire movie. So I went into this movie like, you know what? It might be fun to check it out because I've never seen the original, so I have nothing to hold it up against. My boyfriend was like, it's going to be so much crap because he loves the original. When he saw the trailer, he's like, this is shit. Don't want to see this. So I went to see it alone. And he was right. It was no good. It was no good. No mas. What redeeming qualities this movie really has other than, I don't know, a polished look? The chariot race was boring. Everything just felt wooden. I'm sorry, the main actor, I liked him a lot. I loved him in Empire, Boardwalk Empire, but here, I'm sorry, this movie, it didn't move me in the slightest. It was one of those films, it was happening, and I watched it, and then it was over, and then I was like, meh. So, Ben-HUR was a no-go. I have to try and see the original, but it's just so damn long. I don't know if I'll ever sit down and watch it, but this is not the Ben-HUR that I think people should try to remember. So no. The next movie on my list is Kickboxer Vengeance. And to be fair, I'm not sure this one got a wide release. But it doesn't excuse that this movie is just not good. The first Kickboxer movie, it holds a special place in my heart because it's one of those, it's the first movie I think I remember seeing Van Damme in, and it was awesome. It was stupid, but the fights was awesome, and everybody involved was, you could tell everybody was giving their best, doing their best. And this movie had Dave Bautista, Van Damme came back, so you know you were expecting something pretty epic. Instead, what we get is a watered down rehash, exact rehash by the way, of the first Kickboxer film, with a teacher, a student, a kumite, or whatever the hell they call it, and Batista playing the role of the exact same guy from part one. I'm not sure how it works. It didn't. This story made no sense. I mean, okay, granted, it's a freaking action movie. I'm not expecting it to have a great story, but it could have had better acting. The lead could have been more charismatic. This guy's as charismatic as toilet paper. And the fight sequences felt so choreographed and would nothing looked natural, nothing flowed natural. This movie was just boring and such a letdown considering the source material. So I hated it, and it's on my worst films of 2016 list. My next is Bad Santa 2. I don't know what I expected. I really didn't expect anything because I didn't expect anything from the first Bad Santa. I saw that one, but I really enjoyed it. That movie turned out to be crass as hell, but it was sweet in its own way. It was endearing, and it was funny. It was really funny. This one, again, first of all, Bad Santa didn't need a freaking sequel. Let's just get that out there. Secondly, this one is like, I think the first Bad Santa was like 13 years ago, so what is the point? And then thirdly, they have the exact same story again. This is such lazy ass writing. It's the same thing. They gotta pull off a heist. They form a team, whatever. We have Kathy Bates here as Billy Bob Thornton's mother. But at the end of the day, Billy Bob Thornton looks like he would rather be anywhere but here. Everybody seems uncomfortable with the material. Christina Hendricks is in this movie, and I have no issue with Christina Hendricks, but she seems so uncomfortable. These sex scenes were cringeworthy. You think the sex scene in Monster Ball is horrible? Wait till you see this one. And granted, it doesn't go on as long, but the entire time I was cringing. I felt bad for her. I felt bad for whoever had to film it. Bad Santa 2 is just a terrible movie. The only person who seems to put any effort into it is a young actor who plays Thurman Merman, who creepily looks exactly like he did back then, except now he's taller and fatter. That's about it. So, Bad Santa 2 is just a bad movie, hands down. My next is, oh my goodness, Max Steel. Now, let me be clear. I did not watch this movie in cinema. I refused to pay money to go and see this crap. I watched it just because I had absolutely nothing to do that day. And it turns out it was still a waste of my nothing to do time. Oh boy, this movie was terrible. This movie, I think, is trying to piggyback on the whole like Iron Man and now Power Rangers coming out. And granted, those movies seem like they're gonna be fun. The Power Rangers movies, you know, I was a Power Rangers fan growing up. I loved my Mighty Morphin Power Rangers growing up. And I hope they, you know, handle it well. I'm not expecting anything awesome, but I'm hoping that it's at least a fun movie. Max Steel is such a boring ass movie. It's nonsense. Oh my god, that lead actor. Where do you find these people? I mean, at least find somebody who can quote unquote act. I don't know what was going on in this movie. I mean, granted, some of the CGI stuff looked cool, but is this a rip-off of other stuff? It's a rip-off of Iron Man. It's a rip-off of Portal, the video game. It's a rip-off of everything else you've seen, and it's been done so much better. Just stick to the cartoon if you like Max Steel. Just avoid this movie like the plague. And that brings me to the last one on my list. Number 12, Norm of the North. Oh my god. Whew. You know, animation was really good this year in general. We got Zootopia, we got Moana, we got even Sing, we got a lot of Kubo and the Two Strings. We got some wonderful animated movies this year. Nobody Knows ain't one of them. And you know what? I'm going to keep it nice and short. I'm going to wind this up. Don't watch this movie. Don't put your kids to watch this movie. Don't, unless you have somebody you truly hate in your life, don't watch this movie. Terrible anime. Horrible story. It's not funny. It's not sweet. It's not nothing. This movie is nothing. Just pretend it doesn't exist and it will go away. And that's gonna be it for me. That's my top 10 worst movies of the year. And I'm glad my best movie list was longer. At least I know it had more better movies than it did bad movies. It's always a good thing when the good outweighs the bad, and here the good definitely outweighs the bad. So while 2016 in general kind of sucked, movie wise, it was a good year for movies in general. I think it was a strong year for film. We got a lot of really good movies, really memorable movies. We got some okay movies, and we got some bad movies, but at least the bad it's not like the bad was like overwhelmingly bad and overwhelmingly disappointing. You know, it wasn't, I don't think we really had a case of the Fantastic Fours this year, you know. Granted, there was some movies that I wish were a lot better, like Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, but they still managed to entertain. And at the end of the day, I can't really complain about that. So that's it, guys. That's the end of my list for 2016. This year, it's nearly over. I'm shooting this now. It's Old Year's going into New Year's. We have a few hours to go. So Happy New Year to everybody. And 2017 has some really awesome films coming out. So we get that to look forward to. And in general, guys, I hope you have a great time. Thank you for your support of the channel. And till next time, bye bye.